Friends, it's May 27th, the 46th day of Eastertide. We're getting real close to the end of the Easter season, that is Pentecost. We're doing our works of art, finding the spiritual in the works of art. And I chose one of my favorite paintings for today. This is by Caspar Friedrich, German painter. This is painted in 1818. This painting has been used in several ways in history. The one I want to talk about today is it's used as a symbol of Romanticism. But just to say I'm going to talk about Romanticism in a second, but just see what's happening here. This is called Wander Over. Bye, Patty! This is called, that was Patty Bowman. Up here to get prepared for the Pentecost service. So, wander above the sea of fog. So he's standing on a precipice here, looking over a sea of fog. There's some mountain peaks that are coming up. He's got his cane, and it seems clear that he's walked up. He's hiked up to the very top of this mountain, and he's looking out over the world, the sea of fog. So it's used as a symbol of Romanticism, the Romantic age in arts and literature. And that doesn't mean the romantic ideal today is about the love between two people. And we have romantic comedies, romantic novels that focus on the relationship, usually of loving nature between two people. Now, Romanticism in the arts and literature is beginning in the 18th century. It started to celebrate the individual human, that individuals can comprehend beauty, and within them is the power to imagine a better world. And it flew in the face of organizations and institutions. It did fly in the face of organized religion, and so the church and governments that tried to form and conform the individual, make the individual conform to the institution's ideas of what is acceptable, what is beautiful. And the romantic ideal, which this is a picture of, that he's made it to the top of this precipice by himself. He had the power to do it, and he's looking out over the sea of fog and coming to his own conclusions about its meaning and purpose and how he'll relate to this experience. Another word to use to describe what's happening in this painting, is the sublime, that the wanderer is experiencing the sublime. Something that's sublime is a power over the individual, or greater than the individual, I should say. That someone looking at a beautiful starry night, or a giant tidal wave, or from a mountaintop, sees a power greater than himself, without needing to be told by the church or a government or a monarch what he should be experiencing. Can have his own experience just in and of himself. So the romantic ideal celebrates the individual. So let's talk a little bit about what that could mean for, if the romantic ideal was against organized religion, what could it mean? What can this painting mean for us spiritually? And I would point out how important that the individual was to Jesus. So Jesus used parables, and they were different than any other story, different because it lifts up the individual as supremely important to God. I'm reminded of the story of the 99 sheep that are left by the shepherd in search of the one that's gotten lost. And God cares for this individual so much and loves that individual so much. But the individualism can go too far, like in the prodigal son. That individual went in search of values that he made himself, didn't listen to the values as taught to him by his tradition, and valuing the dissolute lifestyle almost comes to a bad end, but returns to the Father's house, into the arms of a loving Father, like we are taken up into the arms of God when we come back for that loving relationship. So what does all this mean for us spiritually? This celebration of the romantic ideal that one individual human can, without being told or programmed by a church or government, can find meaning and value, but that Jesus does identify how it can go too far, and the sinful nature of humans, I think, can be. This prodigal son story obviously shows us very clearly what sin is, to go so far as to believe that the human individual life is meaningful if and only if it finds a way to derive pleasure out of the beauty in the world, or out of different options in the world. And I think we don't need to search very far in our own lives or the story of the lives of others to find how bankrupt it is in the end to use your whole life in search of pleasure, because pleasure ends. In fact, it's not pleasure if it doesn't end. If we're in a constant state of euphoria, that's impossible. A constant state of euphoria or a constant state of pleasure is not possible. But the painting tried to run away. But we seem to try to do that, or we seem to expect that is possible, that some constant state of pleasure without pain is possible. And that pursuit is sinful. That is the sinful side of humanity, and that's what I think one of the many things that parable and other parables are teaching humans about sin. So what does this mean for us? I think it means that we must balance it, that we are created by God with immense individual power, and we can go in search of, and should go in search of, what's meaningful to us as individuals. That my ministry to the world and my idea of service and what I find is a meaningful life may not be the same as yours. In my own personal experience, I have desires to serve the world in this capacity and that capacity, or I think that the troubles in this world should be engaged in a certain way by me, and we must work out our individual salvation, if you will, with diligence. But as followers of the way of Jesus Christ, we believe and have seen the truth of the proposition that this individual salvation, or this engaging with the world and finding the beauty in the world, is achieved in service to the world and humanity. That serving the end of our own pleasure leads to a fallen world and a fallen life, but our quest to experience beauty by serving the world and seeing that and trying to tease out that in others, as in what we do in Christian education, we try to bring that forth in our young people, to find beauty and meaning in service to the world, is the very heart of the Christian religion, the way of Christ. So that's a take on the spiritual implications of this painting, The Wanderer Over the Sea of Fog. It will be in the comments below the YouTube and Facebook post. You'll have a link to the painting, and I'll also send the image in the email. It's for your own consideration. So our announcements are as follows: that we will please come to our drive-up service. Arrive at about around 10:30. You can come a little earlier if you want. We'll be parking cars from 10:30 to 10:45 over in our parking lot, and I'll be up on the hill, and we'll have a service together. You'll get a bulletin, and Jeff will be playing, and we have a little treat for you as you drive up. I'll let you be surprised by that little gift. As far as opening, the church council has decided, and we'll keep telling you this, that we're not going to open up the church sanctuary for worship in the month of June, but we will have on-campus worships every Sunday in the month of June, meaning we'll either have a drive-up service or an outdoor service with seats. So one way or the other, come on Sundays in June at 10:30. Whether we stay in our cars or we put chairs out, which is what we're leaning towards, that'll be a week-to-week decision. But all that will be very clear when you arrive. So we'll try to let you know whether it be a drive-up service or an outdoor service sometime in the week prior to that Sunday. But I feel like it's all you need to know right now is drive up on Sunday, and every service on Sundays in June will be in one way, shape, or form in person. So that's all I got for you today, friends. That's my just kind of spontaneous reflection on this painting. I hope you don't mind my kind of stream of consciousness, a reflection on this artwork. I still miss you. I'm really happy that we're going to be together, even if it's in the parking lot, for the Sundays in June. Now we're making that decision because we want to see what happens. If there's a huge spike in cases as things begin to open in June, we don't want to leave ourselves exposed to that. So we're going to take precautions, worshiping in person, but outside at a far distance or in our cars. So that's enough for me. I love you and God loves you.